We're going to have a go at making some little houses, some tiny houses. And these are literally just from shaping, moulding the clay, sculpting these houses. So I've got some air drying clay. I'm just going to pinch a piece off. So this is going to be the tiniest kind of house first of all. And then we're going to make a medium sized one. So I'm just rolling that into a ball first of all. And then I'm using a kitchen spatula. Now, this is not going to be used for cooking afterwards. I bought it specifically for working with clay, and it's fabulous for patting the houses into shape. It's also really good for making really perfectly smooth and round spheres of clay, hollow objects as well. So we're just going to start by patting one side of the clay. And you can see how perfect it makes that. So that's one wall of the little cottage. Then we're going to go on this side and do that. I'm going to go on the third side, should I say? I can't count. And then on the fourth side. Okay. So we'll have to go around a couple of times. And then we also want the base to be nice and flat. So I'm going to just pop that onto my Teflon sheet here and just make sure that it's level, because we don't want wonky houses, although they do look charming. If you've ever been to York and seen those lovely leaning houses down the shambles, they do look amazing, don't they? So if you want a slightly medieval look about your house, then you can make it a bit wonky and wobbly, that's fine. And then we're going to create the roof shape. So we're going to go in at an angle on one side and then at an angle on the other side. So we want to try and get it as symmetrical as we can. All the time, just patting the house into shape. And what an excellent tool this is. It's brilliant, isn't it, for a quick and easy way to build a house. Wouldn't it be great if it was that easy? Saying, look, I built a house with a spatula. It's a tiny house for a little munchkin, a little fairy, but it's still beautiful. So there we have our tiny house. I'll just make sure I've got my roof even like that. So keep tapping, patting, getting it into the shape that you want it to be. I want this one to be fairly tall, rather than squat. Tall and slim. So that's our lovely house shape. You can carry on just adjusting and just being picky and fussy, which is what I love to do. And then when you've got your overall shape that you really like, you want to start to make the roof shape, the little roof tiles. And I find this tool amazing for that. So we've got these two ends to it. This is a pottery shaping tool. So we've got like this scoop kind of spoon shape, and then we have like this dagger shape there, and that's the one that I'm going to use for making the impressions on the roof. So I'm going to zoom you in a little bit. Okay, and so the way I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the top of the roof and just pressing in with my little dagger and making those marks, and it's quite an effective way of putting in my roof tiles. So you're just pressing this in and you've got your roof in place there, and you just do that on the other side. So again, I'm going to come up to the edge. You can do this while your clay is wet. It's the best time to do it, to make these marks, these little impressions. And you know, just have a look around the house. You've probably got, I'm going to go down a little bit further for another row of tiles. You've probably got things around the house that you could use for this purpose. And there we have it. So we can still go ahead and just pat our house into shape and just make sure it's how we want it to be. Just get that base really good. Now, because this is a solid lump of clay, it is going to take longer to dry, but it's well worth it. Now, if you want to as well, you can add some little decorations. So I've got this Sugarcraft little cutter, but it has got on the inside of it, it's got like this little plunger that pushes out the sugar paste or the clay if you're going to use it for clay. So if I push my hand on the spring, I can use this shape to make an impression on the house. Let's see how this works. We want to do that here. It's going to do that at the top of the house. Pushing in my little heart. I'll do one on the other side as well. I'm going to push in even deeper on that side. There we go. And so we can paint in there if we want to. You could also, if you wish, use something to make the impression of a doorway. So I could push my little paintbrush in there. So hollows that in. And that makes a really lovely little house with the roof and then that little doorway and a little window that's a heart shape. A second variety of house you might want to make is slightly bigger, just grabbing a slightly bigger piece of clay. So again, we're going to do that same process of patting the clay into shape. If you see that it's got particularly craggy and crumply, then you can always just go in with your finger and get rid of those. So I want this to be quite a square little cottage shape. That one's more of an angular shape that I just made. I'm going to zoom the camera out a little bit there, that's better. It's to be so close up to me. And so just getting this the right proportions for this. So it's a nice little cottage shape. And then we're going to go in with the roof. Might make that a bit thinner, a bit taller. Go in with the roof. And just take your time getting your cottage into shape. There we go. And now we've got this lovely cottage shape happening. Make that a bit steeper so it's got a more cottagey look about it. Little chocolate box cottage. That's what we're making here. And a final pat for the base of it. Let me just, okay, so I'm happy with that, happy with how that's turned out. So again, we can go and do the roof tiles. I'm going to use this little tool to do the roof tiles this time. Just making it more kind of pressing in there, slightly bigger. The roof tiles on this one because it is a bigger cottage. We've had an upgrade. Just going to go over those because I didn't do them hard enough. And do the other side. When you're doing everything, it's best to do it all at once because you know the pressure that you put on it. If you come back to things, you forget. I'm going to do one last layer of tiles down there. There we go. If it's distorted at all while you're doing that, you can just pat it back into shape. Okay, I think that's my best front entrance. And I'm going to put a three-dimensional little door on here. So So while the clay is wet and quite wet and sticky, it's going to stick beautifully to my clay. But you could put, got a little bit of water, I'm just going to spray a bit of water on the edge of there. I'm going to get my door into the right shape. I want it to be rectangular, but with rounded corners. Just get my door how I want it. There, I think my door looks great. I'm just going to dip it in the water and place it there. That door's quite big, but never mind. It's very welcoming. And I just smooth that down. You can then, where are we? What am I going to use for this? Oh, use my, and just push the edges, just straighten those up so that it all looks very even. Pat that down. And then I might decide that I want to put an impression for the windows. So what am I going to use for that? I might have use the end of my paintbrush just to make an impression there. A kind of rectangular window shape. Make sure that those are even. You could put some windows on the other side if you wanted to. That doorway does look a bit big, so I might make that a bit smaller. But there we have another cute little cottage, and we're going to leave those to dry. Now they are going to take a while to dry because they are solid clay, so you have to just give them their time to dry out. I would suggest at least 2 days before you start painting them, and make as many as you like, because you can see how quick and easy it was to make those. And they do look rather beautiful, and I'll be showing you how to decorate them in another video as well further on in this tutorial.